tracks is pretty much predetermined by what you send to the mixer.
Yeah, you can just arm your ISOs as you go if you need to.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, well, that works for me.
Mm-hmm.
Can you change the routing while you're recording?
You know, I didn't try that. I believe you can. Jeff, I think, might have the answer. Jeff, well, what, are you available Tuesday?
What was the question? Was about changing the routing?
While recording. I believe you can.
Certainly, you can change the panning, which is the only routing you actually can change, right?
Because that's true. And the aux 1 and 2.
The aux assign, I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm. I would think so. There's no way to know until we actually get the machine.
And then you can't arm or disarm a track once you're recording. Each recording is treated as its own sort of session, as far as I know. So
that's true with any recorder available that I'm aware of.
Although people have asked, I know the questions have been asked of me, with the Diva, why can't I just like punch in or something the way I can on a big recorder, or I want to disarm something in the middle of the take because I don't want that. Well, as far as I know, it can't be done with any of these recorders. Yeah. No. And you can't do it in Pro Tools.
You can't unarm a track while you're recording.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if you can do that on the fly while it's recording. Mm-hmm. Well, you'll have to get that answer, either Monday or Tuesday, I guess.
Yep. And another question? Yes, sir.
So, yeah, to take it further, if you have the CL6,
okay,
you can send tracks to the main mix in the main body, and then it'll ISO any inputs you have there on the CL6.
The CL6 is just like as far as its signals going to the recorder. The CL6 is just like the first 6 that are on the main mixer, right? So the CL6, when you bring up faders 7 through 12, is that right? Yeah, 7 through 12, they will also go to the left-right mix, right? And you can also assign those to aux 1 and aux 2. And by default, they will always go pre-fader to the additional, the additional 6 tracks. So in that case, you've got 6 ISO tracks available on the recorder if you're using the CL6.
Additional question to that is, do you know whether when you add the CL6, obviously there has to be some way that the main meter screen is reconfigured, right, to represent the additional,
and I've been asking that question to myself.
Because that seems like that could get a little tight on the display, which is quite nice now for the 10 tracks. But
I'm at this point I'm assuming.
Yeah. Or possibly it might be a toggled screen where you see the
I'm assuming it's going to be a different screen.
The additional tracks on a different meter screen.
Right. Yeah. Because it would be really tough to have 16 tracks displayed on that size screen. So I'm going to assume it's a toggle that goes to a different screen that shows the other 6 pre's. Yes, sir.
Like in a music application, can you record a few tracks and then go back and leave those tracks and not punch in, but arm tracks 4 through 6?
Overdose, no.
Why?
Okay, all right. So essentially, you're asking if it will play back and record, like to do a punch in.
Yeah.
No, it won't. And I realize you can do that with the Pro Tools and some other workstations. There were some early machines that did that, but I guess it demanded so much of the processors that it's been left out.
It's a processor issue, and also it's a safety issue, since that operation of recording something and then punching in or recording something else is something that we're almost never required to do with master production sound recordings for picture, which is what all these devices are designed to do. And it's an additional safety feature that, beginning with the very first Diva, there are great lengths made to make sure that you cannot disrupt a recording that you've made in any way whatsoever, because that is the master. In other words, there isn't a routine for like non-destructive editing or punching in or something like you would have in a music session, but that's because these devices and our work doesn't require it.
Yeah.
That's the answer to why not.
Yeah.
And Jeff, I think you should sit up front here. Need to put a face with a name. Need to put a ball cap with that voice. Yes, sir.
I was wondering,
Oh,
with the
sorry.
CL6 edition, from the picture I couldn't see it, but is there a pan pot and a trim pot and a low cut pot for the CL6?
Yes. Well, there it is. Good question. And I don't see it.
Yeah, and if not,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm afraid that one's caught me by surprise too. Okay, it seems that there are assignments. You can assign it to left, right, or both, but not a variable pan
Sure.
on those.
okay. And also, one other thing, lately with the past few firmware updates for the 788, a lot of people have been getting slow media warning errors on their compact flashes. I get them as soon as I go above 7 tracks. I was just amazed that this can do 16 tracks simultaneously. Has that been addressed, or has anyone discussed that?
I've not seen it work with 16 tracks on this machine on a compact flash. I'm going to assume that it's safe to say that it will work because that's the media that you use is the compact flash and the SD. With other machines, I've seen it work in real time, 16 tracks to a compact flash. Yeah, I saw a hand go up. Rob, did you have a question? Oh, okay. Okay.
I see the answer to my meter question there. There are meters on the CL6.
Yes.
So you don't.
There are.
Are they track meters?
They're labeled left, right, and then aux 1 and aux 2.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
That's cool.
Hi. I have a question regarding memory. So you can use both the SD and CF cards. If you can assign, say, from the CL6, that part goes to the SD, and for the regular recorder, it goes to the CF card. If you can divvy up the information to which card you want to go to.
I think you can. Yeah, you can. You wanted to do
I
your
don't-
tracks to one card, and
Yeah.
I think you can do that, or you can just send ISOs to one card and your mix to another card.
Yeah.
You were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to think if I don't know, but I'm not sure if, for instance, the compact flash has to record all 16, and then you can mirror just the tracks you want to the other card.
I think you can. I was reading online the other day that you can assign what you record to what card. So you can do a dailies mix to one card, and you can do all your ISOs or whatever. I think I saw.
Yeah.
that
The reason I'm hesitating about that is because I think you want to have one piece of media that has your entire recording on it, and then use the second one as a custom track media device. Yeah. But we'll find out Monday and Tuesday, for sure.
Works for me.
So I was going to invite John Tatulis to call in to answer some of these questions. I know he was driving into Chicago for a family soccer game, I believe it was. So I'm afraid he's unavailable. But moving along, what else we got? Okay, we mentioned the keyboard. It has USB keyboard capable for metadata. I think I mentioned, but I'll say it again. The metadata entry with a newer screen like this is much faster than in the previous sound devices recorders. Just to let you know that metadata now can happen much quicker than it could in the past with the sound devices machines. In the metadata screen, you get a display of the alphabet, and you navigate and click, and it can be quite fast. Plus, you can save libraries of the information to pull it up later. Yes, sir. Okay.
How do you enter the metadata if you don't have a keyboard?
With the joystick, there's a joystick up here. It navigates. Pull up the screen, and then you navigate the cursor over the letter you want. Press it, and that enters that letter. And it's much faster than the 7 series recorders, where you scroll through to each letter, right? So it's a vast improvement for metadata. So what I'm saying is the need for the keyboard that you might have been used to with the 7 series recorder, the need isn't as great with this machine. And I think everybody, when metadata first came out as a possibility that the sound department would enter to assist with editorial, it was blown off, and like, we're not going to do that, we can't do that, we've got more stuff to do. Well, I'm afraid we lost that fight, if there was one, because now they depend on it. So it's not, well, maybe I'll have time to enter metadata. No, they're going to be expecting it, and it's going to save a lot of time. Yes, sir.
I noticed on the right side of the mixer, there was a USB-B port. I was wondering if there was...
on the right panel?
Yeah, I was wondering if there was an advantage to having a B port, because I heard last night that it comes with an adapter to put on your keyboards. So I was wondering why they chose a USB-B as opposed to a regular USB.
Yeah, I'm afraid I don't know. I don't know.
Again, in the user manual, it talks about connecting a keyboard, and there is some sort of adapter that's required. And also, they said with some keyboards, the sequence with which the keyboard is attached is important. In other words, like sometimes you have to turn the machine on and boot it up before you connect the keyboard. Other keyboards, they say you'll have to have the keyboard connected when you boot up. And I guess that's something that people will just discover once they have the machine in hand with a keyboard.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious of those here, who's using a keyboard for metadata entry currently? Okay, say maybe 20%, roughly. And what machines are you using the keyboard with? 788.
788, but I think I'm going to jump to an iPad this week.
Okay. Oh, and use the Wi-Fi interconnect? Yeah. Yeah.
I'm debating between the movie slate and that. Obviously, I can't run both at the same time. I want something to different. It's up in the air, but I'm going to switch. I'm going to try to get off the keyboard and get more into a pad.
Okay. So I've done it for a long time, and the times when I've used the 7 series, I have used the keypad for metadata. Otherwise, I've never used a keyboard.
Glenn,
yes, sir, Jeff.
With your Diva, do you just use the on-screen keyboard?
Yeah. When I'm using the Diva recorder, I just use my fingers and punch it in. Which one reason that's possible, one, it's a touchscreen, but two, it's a larger screen. Part of the design of this device is to make it very compact. So I'm afraid my fingers wouldn't. I would probably be pressing five letters at the same time. So, but this size screen is a good compromise between the full size touch screen and the narrower scroll through screen on the 7 series recorders. Mm-hmm. Let's see. I think I blew through a few things I want to talk about. Well, one thing is the timecode system inside the sound devices recorders is made by the German company Ambient. And Ambient is renowned for having the most reliable, stable, and accurate timecode generators that are used in this industry. They can be tuned just like the Ambient devices. If you have the Ambient master controller, you can actually fine-tune the timecode generator that's in the sound devices recorders. In addition, this machine, I think this is the first of their machines that has this feature, but it will display the drift between its clock and an external device. So if there's any question about, well, is the camera drifting away from the recorder, you can plug them together and see for yourself what the drift is and how much it is. Yeah, there's always going to be some drift eventually if you wait long enough, but it'll be a way to verify if you're thinking maybe your slate is out of sync or not very accurate. You can plug its output into the device, and it'll show you, how much difference there is.
It says there were the BNCs to take external word clock or send it? Does it have its own word clock generator?
It has an output, has an in and an out. So I'm going to have to assume yes, instead of just being a loop through. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I have a question regarding its durability, regarding as also for recording your cards onto your cards. So I've been in situations where I've been riding in dunes in the Jeep and we're going up and down. So I'm wondering how safe are the cards into the recorder? Does it have like a kung fu grip on it, or would it be just safe to tape it down to make sure all your data is safe, and if it would even have a safety feature?
There's a cover.
down?
Let me see if I can go back to that slide. There's a cover that locks the cards in, so it's not just a friction fit. We'll get to it here in a second. Here we go. Okay. This device here, you see it's got a curved section so that you can grip it. That's actually the cover for the flashcards.
Wonderful. Okay.
Right. So it's not just a friction hold. They're not going to come out of there unless it's open.
Okay. Good.
And of course, flashcards have no moving parts, so they're resistant to vibration, unlike a spinning disk hard drive.
Okay. I have one more question regarding like temperature limitations. I've heard, I've been in a situation with the 744, and I've been in like the snow, and I've been in the desert, and I've been with wind and sand, and I haven't had any problems yet, but I've heard that people have temperature limitations that'll just shut down. So would this be more rugged regarding higher temperatures, higher and colder?
You're talking about with the 7 series.
I'm talking about this one. I'm comparing.
Okay, but the heat. Okay, so you've had issues with the 7 series in extreme cold?
I haven't. I've heard of people that have.
Okay. I think that's probably due to the hard drive reaching its limits in cold weather. But since this doesn't have a spinning wheel hard drive, I can't imagine that the cold is going to have an effect. If it would have an effect on anything, it would be the screen.
Okay.
And I don't know of any LCD screens that are used in these types of recorders that have had any problems. We have a lot of customers in Canada that work down to minus 40, which is where, so they tell me that's where Celsius and Fahrenheit are equally cold, right? Otherwise, Celsius is a lot colder. But anyway, the low temperatures, I can't imagine would be an issue within reason. High temperatures, I think not also, because the construction, it uses the same, the top and bottom panels uses the same, it's called a metallized carbon fiber plate. It's very rigid and strong and lightweight. So heat, it's not going to be hot to the touch like some of the 7 series recorders were. A question in the back, yes, sir?
Just thought of something. Since you said it was an all analog signal path.
Right.
So if the CPU were to crap out on it, would the mixer still work and pass through signal? Like, is it?
It's a good question.
Is it attached to that? Like, if the computer part goes out, you still have a functioning mixer?
I would think that's the case. However, that's really a question for the design engineer, because I'm not sure how much of the mechanical routing of the analog signal is controlled by the DSP. All right, that's where it could possibly have an effect. But there's no A to D converters between the analog inputs and the analog outputs until, of course, you go to the recorder and do playback. Right. So a couple things that are coming to mind that I haven't brought up. It also has AES inputs. Input number 1, XLR input number 1 is an AES input, as well as input number 6. So I asked John Tatulis why the spread, why input 1 and then input 6. And the answer was, this shows you how in touch they are with how we do things. He says in their conversations with mixers, people put the boom either on input 1 or input 6. It's either on the first, the front or the end. That's where the booms go. If there's 2 booms, typically it's 1 and 2, or 1 and 6, right? So if people, am I dropping out here? Check. Okay. Let's see. So we're seeing more and more options to use digital boom microphones. Right. The Shep's Super CMIT, for instance, you can take the AES out of that, go right into inputs number 1 or 6, and go directly. When you do that, of course, now you're introducing a digital converter, because it converts it back to analog before it goes out the output. Sennheiser also has modules now that convert their 8000 series to a digital microphone. And I've seen those used to some good advantage too. So I think we're going to see more and more of that. And Sound Devices has built circuits to accommodate that. I should point out too that the AES inputs they can be configured to be AES 42 or AES 3. So it's fully functional digital inputs. Something else I wanted to mention really quick, and I think we're about to run out of time, is when you hold the machine, it's surprisingly lightweight. You know, the 7 series machines, you pick them up and they feel nice and solid and all, but they're surprisingly weighty. This is surprisingly lightweight, and there's 2 reasons for that. One, the metallized carbon fiber top and bottom panels are very lightweight, and they're a little bit on the thick side, so that they're rigid. So you'd expect it to weigh more than it does when you pick it up, but it's very light. And for those who work out of a bag, know how important lightweight is. The second reason it's lightweight is because there's no input transformers. The inputs on this device, the mic pre's, are transformerless. I'm a big fan of portable devices such as this, to have transformerless inputs for several reasons. Weight is actually the least important of those reasons, but I'm a big fan because it adds size. To fit 6 good input transformers in this machine would likely make it larger than it is. It adds weight, of course. It adds expense. And my main reason is that transformers will add distortion. Right? A transformerless input, for those with really trained ears, you'll notice that there's more clarity. You'll find yourself reaching less often for the high frequency EQ to try to weave something in a mix, right? So even the best transformers will add some low frequency distortion, kind of muddy things up a little bit. And granted, we're splitting hairs. There's some really good sounding inputs with transformers, but the better sounding ones, the one that more accurately reproduce what the microphone is picking up, are properly designed transformerless input. All right. So we have all those advantages of transformerless inputs, and weight may be the most important if it's around your neck. All right. Okay. Other questions? Ryan, yes.
Yeah, we have a couple of questions from online. A clarification about the CL6, the added inputs, and where they're located.
Oh, good question. Very good question. I'm sorry I didn't point that out earlier. So the question is, when the CL6 is added, where are the inputs? Because there are no connectors of that type on the CL6 add-on. So when you use the CL6, as soon as you attach it to the machine, the 664 mixer detects it, and it configures itself for use with the CL6 add-on. And when it does that, the pre-fade direct outs that are here become the inputs. Right? So you'd have to have a cable or a harness or adapter with TA3 females to send the signal into the CL6. Now also the 6 additional inputs on the CL6 are line level, not mic level, which is typically fine because in that situation normally we're using wireless receivers as a source. Right? But the 6 direct outputs on the 664, when used with the CL6, they become the inputs 7 through 12. Okay? Yes, sir.
When you connect it, does it become post-fader? Because they originally were pre-fade, right?
No. When you use the CL6, these connectors, the assumption is that you're no longer using it to send pre-fader sends to another device. Right. The pre-fader sends will still go to the recorder tracks, but they will no longer be available on those connectors because those connectors are now inputs. Mm-hmm. Another question, yeah?
Yeah, we have another question from online regarding the joystick on the front and record and such.
Right. I'm glad that was asked because it reminds me of another feature I should have brought up. Just a second. We're just about there. Okay. Okay. The joystick. That is the record activator. The joystick. So it's this button here. It also is the equivalent of a tape transport control. They were telling me that when they choose a label for these controls, they have meetings about it. Well, should it be called a this or should it be called a that? You know, should the screen go up? Should it go down? And the question was asked, what to label the joystick? And somebody suggested transport. And they thought, it's time to look forward. We're like maybe the last generation that remembers why transport was called a transport, because it's actually moving tape across it. So they decided it's time to move on. So it's no longer called a transport; it's called a navigation stick. Navigator. Mm-hmm.
Did you get a chance to play with that navigation stick? I've never used the 552. I guess that uses the same sort of transport control or navigation stick. Mm-hmm. Did you have a chance to play with that?
I did a bit, yeah.
Yeah. Does it feel solid and predictable and all that? I've always worried about using something that
I don't recall.
We might call it a joystick, from the 80s, or navigation stick, whatever they call it.
Yeah,
is it pretty positive?
I did spend some time with it doing that and going through those motions. Not a lot of time, but it no time that I think, this feels kind of chintzy, or it's not. I didn't know where I was going with it. Yeah. And there's other recorders, fairly recently introduced that have a similar control.
Well, I know one of the Sonosax recorders.
Sonosax, yeah.
I played with that, and I did not like it at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, it wasn't positive enough.
Yeah.
When I used the brief time that I used this one, it didn't register with me that it was not accurate or.
Has anybody
flimsy.
here used the 552? And what do you think?
It took a little getting used to, but once you did, it becomes kind of second nature.
Good.
How do you deal with false takes on these recorders? You get false takes, and it's like you got to delete a take real fast. Do you know? Is there any information about that?
I don't know what it is, but so the question is about how to deal with false takes. So
I haven't used a 552 myself. I thought maybe it would be a similar kind of deal. I don't know if there's the ability to just trash a take, that was called incorrectly or a false roll or whatever.
I'm sure there is. I don't know on this recorder what it would be.
Okay.
So again, just to explain to everybody who may not have heard the whole question, the question was about how to deal with false takes, and a false take or a false start, as it's sometimes called, happens when, let's say somebody says roll sound, the AD says roll sound, so you roll sound. And the camera doesn't roll, and the AD says, hold the roll, and you go, but I've already rolled. So how do you turn that into a take without advancing to the next take when you do go into record? How this recorder deals with that, I don't know, but I'm sure that there's a good way to deal with it, so that you don't have to manually rename the preceding take or the next take.
Yeah, I'll add that even with all the recorders in use now that have methods of dealing with false takes, each individual sound mixer generally has their own approach to that, also based on the sort of jobs you're doing, the sort of workflow you expect. And I know that I think Glenn probably does it the same way I do, which is you just flag it as a false take, but you would never delete it.
I normally do not delete a false take. Yeah.
But there are other people that desperately want to make sure they've deleted that false take for whatever reason. And there have been times when that's gotten people in trouble.
The sound devices, though, it'll go to a trash folder. So when you open up, if you open up your your drive.
It'll have it there.
You can retrieve it.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
Right.
I think normally,
Folder actually.
Here, it's also.
Yeah, right.
yeah, normally it's my experience that there's no need to delete a fault state. There's no advantage to deleting it, and I think often there's a lot of reasons to not delete it. Maybe there's some ambience on there that could be useful. Maybe it's just to let post-production know what was going on, preceding that the take that they actually do use. So you've got a record of each time you've gone in to record.
And the fact that on so many jobs, particularly on feature films and all now, with all the syncing being done on timecode based on the camera, if your false take represents the time when you were rolling and the camera wasn't, they'll never even see it. They'll never even look for it. It doesn't matter,
Right.
because there's a timecode address that doesn't exist anywhere else except on that false take file. So
Now, a couple months ago, they called lunch, and I forgot to hit stop. So I came back and I had a 30-minute take. I did delete that one, just for my self-preservation. Yeah. Yeah. So another question, Ryan?
Well, it was a comment from one of our users online. Chicago Sound says that a false take is a 2-button move. It's a combination of headphone and rewind. Page
There we go.
43 in the manual.
Okay. That darn manual. Who was that from Chicago?
The username is Chicago Sound.
Okay. Thank you, Chicago Sound, for helping out here.
And, of course, one louder and a few others.
Oh, okay. Good. So, okay. Well, I think we've used our a lot of time. We have another
Just
question
one
online?
last
Sure.
question about the CL Wi-Fi. Is that going to be able to be used with the 664?
I understand not. That's one differentiation between the 664 field mixer and the 7 series recorders. I believe I recall John telling me that the CL Wi-Fi will not be an accessory that's available for this machine. Yeah, Rob.
So you said when you plug in like one mic, it automatically goes to left and right. So what does post-production see like if they plug that into a Pro Tool? Normally you'd see just channels.
Like how were they named?
They see left, right, and then numbers.
Yeah, good question.
For them, that's new, isn't it?
To be labeled left and right, I didn't see it yet, so I don't know. I didn't see the files on a workstation.
Like sometimes they'll say to me, just give me a single mix track, channel 1. And sometimes they say, give us 2 tracks, 1 and 2. Obviously,
Right.
there's
Now, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it's going to be tracks 1 through 10.
But
So it's 10 tracks.
you could turn off the trigger to the right.
Oh yeah, yes, you can disarm track 2.
Right.
Yeah, you can see the red lights to the left of each track, and there's no red lights on aux 1 and 2.
Right.
Shows that those tracks are not armed. Right. So you can do just a 1-track mono mix by turning off the right track or mix track 2.
It's a confusion thing if somebody gets it months later, throws the Pro Tools
Yeah.
left, right.
No, it's I can't imagine it's labeled anything except tracks 1 through 10.
It would be labeled 1 through 10.
Yes.
Just for us.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
and
can see it as one.
you can name the tracks, right? So you can name them left, right, and so forth. But that's the metadata that's in addition to just the list of the tracks 1 through 10. Yes, sir.
All right, when you attach the CL6, are you able to, on those inputs, is phantom power available for the, you're not able to?
Well, there's no phantom power available because it's line level only. Right.
So you can't use, of course, any of the booms or anything on any of those additional?
Right. The AES inputs are only on 1 and 6 of the main 664. Yeah. Anything else before we go?
A lot of folks online are wondering when the customer units will be ready for delivery.
Okay, good question. We're very hopeful that the dealer demo units, so each dealer that's a partner with Sound Devices has a demo unit available to them. We were hoping that they would ship by Friday. They were projecting that they should be ready. When I was out there just a few days ago, they had quite a few of the 664s looking ready, but I know they're still trying to fine-tune a lot of the firmware. And once they fine-tune it, then that's got to go through a testing procedure again. So it's something that can't happen at the snap of a finger. So we did not receive ours. They did not ship out Friday. I'm sure that Ed Cap and Matt Mayer will be bringing one or more with them when they come in Monday and Tuesday. The projection for the first production line 664s is by the end of October. Right. I think the official line is sometime in October. I think we can read into that we shouldn't plan before the end of October. Anyway, thanks very much for coming out on Carmageddon. And there was one more thing. Oh, and also thanks to the people online. That's a big help. It's nice having you guys contribute with your comments and helping us answer some questions I couldn't answer. So thanks very much. And remember, Tuesday is open house at Coffee Sound. The times, do you remember?
It's going to go from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Okay, so open house from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Tuesday. If you can't make that, Matt Mayer and Ed Cap from Sound Devices will be at Location Sound on Monday. So I encourage you to attend there. And if you make both, I encourage you to attend both. So thanks very much.